Good morning, members of the National Press, and thank you for being with us here today. My name is Fatine Grzeski, and I am the coordinator of an initiative called Back to Life Canada. Beginning on April 28th this year, 25 courageous women set out on a 200-kilometer journey, walking step by step all the way from Montreal to Ottawa to raise awareness about the legal vacuum in Canada on the issue of abortion. The reality that many Canadian women are being bullied into abortion and the negative impact that abortion can have on women. The 25 women each symbolize 1 year since there have been no laws on abortion in Canada. And a few of these women are standing here with me today on the platform. As you know, in 1988, Justice Bertha Wilson struck down all laws on abortion in Canada. At that point, she also called upon Parliament to work for the good of Canadians and bring forth a piece of legislation on the issue. To date, Parliament has not yet been able to successfully pass such a piece of legislation. And because of this, we have had a complete legislative void in Canada for over 25 years. When Canadians are informed of this reality, for the most part, they are very surprised. Canada stands alone in the world with nations like North Korea and China as others with no legal limits on abortion. Because of this, as Canadian women, we felt it was important to do something tangible to both raise awareness about this and share our reasons for caring about the issue. For years, Canada has talked about a woman's right to choose. However, the experience that many of the women here have is that in the name of choice, they honestly felt like they had no real choice. According to a 2004 survey done by Médecins Money, 64% of Canadian women stated that they felt pressured into an abortion when they did not actually want one. We can testify that this is more than just a statistic. This is a reality for many of the 25 women who walked from Montreal over this past week and a half. Let me tell you about a few of these women. Women like Lisa, right here. Lisa's a Métis woman who was bullied into 2 abortions that she did not want. The experience sent her into a rapid downward spiral emotionally, causing her to turn to substance abuse for comfort. In later years, when trying to get pregnant, she also had serious issues with her placenta, an issue called placenta accreta, which is a condition that her doctor explained after the fact was a direct result of the abortions. Lisa had not been informed prior to the abortion procedure that this was a possible consequence of abortion. To this day, Lisa struggles with medical conditions directly related to the abortions in which she felt she had no choice, abortions that she did not want. Women like Ashley, right here. Ashley, who was excited about the thought of being a mother after she found out that she was pregnant. Initially, her boyfriend was supportive and also excited. At about 4 months into the pregnancy, however, he began bullying Ashley into abortion. This culminated in him telling her that she had no choice, she was going to do it. While beginning to prepare for the abortion, Ashley's boyfriend had a change of heart and actually tried to get the attention of the medical staff while they were prepping Ashley, explaining that he knew that she was only doing it because he had pressured her into it. He explained to the staff that he realized that this was not a good enough reason for her to go through with it. They would not let him speak to Ashley at that point. They never paused to actually ask Ashley if she wanted the abortion herself, and they only relayed the message to Ashley after it was too late. She came out of the clinic absolutely devastated. Women like Casey, right here, whose teenage birth mother was taken to a doctor in her seventh month of pregnancy to get an abortion against her will. Thanks to her birth mother's resolve, the help of a local doctor, her mother was able to refuse the abortion. This is something she never should have been subject to in a society that truly values a woman's right to choose to do what she wants with her own pregnancy. A product of rape, Casey is thankful that her mother chose to give her life and that she was put up for adoption. She walked over these last days in honor of her birth mother and adoptive family and is tangible evidence that outstanding Canadians can come from rape pregnancies. Women like Victoria, right here, who found herself in an unexpected pregnancy and was still being aggressively bullied to abort her baby when she was 7 months pregnant. She was shocked that abortion was even legal at this stage of gestation in Canada and was stunned that anyone would think about abortion at this stage, never mind pressure her towards it against her will. Women like Jenny, right here, who after an act of medical negligence during her abortion was told that her cervix is now incompetent. Because of this, her ability to carry a baby to full term was rendered slim to none. And all of this simply because her abortionist was in a rush and neglected to properly release a clamp before ripping it off of her cervix. This is real life in Canada today. These women, Lisa, Ashley, Casey, Victoria, Jenny, they are all standing in front of you today, as I just mentioned. They represent the voice of thousands, perhaps hundreds of thousands, of women across this nation that have a very similar story to share. This is not right. And today we are standing here to call upon our leaders to stand up for these women and women like them. We are also calling upon the media to begin to tell their stories. They are the most important untold stories of Canadian women today. We believe in the beauty of our nation and its people. Canada's value for freedom, democracy, and compassion for the suffering is admirable, and our human rights record paralleled by few nations in the world, except on the issues like the ones we have presented before you today. And these are very real issues in Canada. They are very real issues to Canadian women. These women have lived these experiences personally, and it must be talked about. If we truly love and have compassion towards women, we will talk about it, because real Canadian women are hurting over it. To talk about it is to say, we see you, we see your pain, we agree that what happened to you was not right, we care enough to work for change on your behalf. A Canada that speaks like this is a Canada that truly has compassion and women's rights at heart. Canadians who value freedom and democracy agree that the bullying of women into abortion is an injustice. No one in Canada should ever be bullied into something that they do not want to do. Canadians agree that every woman should have the right to fully understand the implications of an abortion before she has one, as in any medical procedure that any Canadian has. Unfortunately, in Canada, because of the suppression of statistics, namely in Ontario, BC, and Quebec, the lack of unbiased and properly funded research on the potential medical consequences of abortion, most women simply do not know what they are getting into, as evidenced by the stories that I've shared with you today. Out of compassion for women, we must work to ensure they are properly informed about any abortion experience. Canadian women deserve better. These women that you're looking at today deserved better in their moment of need. Canadian women deserve better than what they're getting right now. On that note, we would like to say thank you so much for listening to these opening remarks about why we just walked 200 kilometers from Montreal to Ottawa. In the remaining few moments of this briefing, some of the women that I mentioned in these remarks would like to briefly share how their personal experiences as women in Canada impacted them. Then we will open for any questions that you may have. Okay, wonderful. So, Ashley.
Hello. As Faitine mentioned, I was pressured into an abortion at 5 months pregnant, and the emotional consequences of that abortion were very strong for me. I was very suicidal and I suffered with depression as well, and I really didn't feel like I deserved life because I took life. 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . . .
name's Victoria, and as Faitine mentioned, I was heavily pressured into having an abortion all the way through my pregnancy, actually up to 7 months pregnant, when I got a phone call from a family member who was in the medical field and said that she would have everything arranged for me to have the abortion. I was completely shocked to even realize later that it was legal in Canada to abort my baby at that stage of pregnancy. I was feeling my baby inside of me kick, and I had a connection with her. And I ended up having my child, and it was the best decision I've ever made. Thinking back now, and to think that if I had taken that option and had the abortion, it would have happened, and I wouldn't have her here. It's unthinkable for me. So, and also just when I was sharing and bringing awareness to people that I was doing this walk, it's evident that so many Canadians aren't aware of that legal vacuum in Canada.
Hi, as Faitine mentioned, I had been pressured into 2 abortions, which just led me to a third abortion. And it wasn't until I had my own children that I realized the physical side effects that had come from the abortions. I almost lost my daughter on multiple occasions, and didn't learn until I had my son that what was causing the the miscarriages was a condition that was caused from the abortions, where my placenta grew in too deeply into my uterine lining. And if I had been told those consequences, I'm pretty sure I would not have chosen abortion. When I found out about those consequences, I was hurt, and I was very angry at the medical staff for neglecting to tell me about those side effects from abortion.
Thank you. We'll open it up for questions now.
Just for a start, can you just tell us when exactly the march start? When did you leave from Montreal, arrive in Ottawa?
Absolutely. We began to walk on Sunday, April the 28th from Montreal, and we arrived yesterday in the afternoon. We arrived at Parliament around 4 o'clock on May the 8th.
What you're trying to achieve right now, we saw that the motion from Mark Guerrara have been declared non-votable. So clearly it looked like the government doesn't really want to push this issue. So I was wondering, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you're referring to the motion about gender side. The main goal of our walk, the Back to Life walk, was really to raise awareness. And we believe that all legislative change, fundamentally begins with education. And we actually believe that our members of parliament from every party, whether the Liberal Party, the NDP, or the Conservative Party, when they really understand the issues at hand for women, we do believe that this is a women's issue, not necessarily an abortion issue per se, but it's really a women's health issue. And so our hope is that our members of parliament will have the compassion and the openness of heart to hear the stories like the ones that were shared today, and begin to consider what can be done to protect the most vulnerable people in our society, of which young women who find themselves pregnant definitely are some of the vulnerable Canadians that need to be protected.
Pointed with the government right now on that issue?
Well, when you see that 92% of Canadians on the issue of gendercide, that 92% of Canadians are opposed to gendercide, absolutely, there's a disappointment there that our government is not necessarily in sync with the will of Canadians on that issue. But our hope is that in goodwill, that they will continue to have an open heart, listen to Canadians, and begin to maybe reevaluate some of their perspectives so that they line up more accurately with even what the statistics and the surveys are saying regarding the will of Canadians on the issue of gendercide.
Your perspective, this Conservative government was supposed to be a bit more open maybe to this issue, and yet Mr. Harper has said
very clearly that he will not reopen that debate. He blocked that motion. So how do you feel about the Conservative Party, which was probably your best hope of achieving some of the things you want to achieve?
Our hope is not in the Conservative Party. Our hope is in the goodwill and the compassion of parliamentarians as a whole. As a matter of fact, today we are meeting with a member from the Liberal Party who is the critic for status of women. That is really where we're putting our hope, not in a specific party, but in the humanity and the compassion of members of parliament as fellow Canadians, that as they hear these stories, that they will consider what can be done to protect women.
You talked a lot about bullying, and I was just wondering, do you think that it can work the other way around? That women can be bullied into keeping the child while they don't want to?
I think the evidence would suggest that women are being bullied into abortions much more than they're being bullied into keeping their children. But regardless, a woman should never be bullied in either direction. And I think no one in Canada would support the bullying of anybody into anything that they do not want to do of their own free will. And I think this is an important issue that we need to talk about. One thing I do know is that women are being bullied into abortion. And so that is the story that many of the women and the walkers, on our team have, and they can only share their story. They were bullied to abort, not bullied to keep.
One last question, because the theme of this demonstration today is really about genocide. So how does your particular issue fit into that broader theme for this year?
Absolutely. Well, I think, we're very supportive of Mark Warwa's motion and his stance, as are 92% of Canadians, as the statistics show. We're very excited about the theme for the March for Life, though our initiative is a separate theme. But I think whether it's gendercide or whether it's the issue of women being bullied into abortion, really what's being platformed here today at Parliament is an issue of women's rights and the need to protect women, whether it's unborn women or whether it's women who are fully grown and have conceived that also need protection. And so I think the issues are linked in the fact that they are both important, relevant, current issues that are real to Canadians regarding women's rights in Canada. Thank you. You guys want to take a picture? Can we do that? Can we take a picture? Sure. Okay. Thank you, Norman.
Yeah.
Sure. Do we have a real picture? An actual?
No, we all have